Hey everyone, welcome back to Tactical Magic. This is Molly Mandelberg, your host, and I have a special guest with me here today. I think many of you listening to this are either entrepreneurs or badasses who may want to grow some kind of movement or business or become leaders in some way. And what I know is a lot of times when we start walking down that path, a lot of our stuff shows up to stop us, and it can feel very confronting to have a big dream and to feel doubt or fear or hesitation about how to start moving toward it, how to step into it, how to become who you know you're becoming. And so I'm really excited to have this guest on today because she is a master at helping us reprogram the subconscious mind to stop limiting ourselves, stop stopping ourselves, and to move into all that greatness that we're aware of is possible. It's not just about mastering technology. It's not just about brand or messaging. It's not just about making more money. It's about showing up in a big way so your people can find you. This is about bringing your most wild and authentic self into the hustle and grind. Welcome to Tactical Magic, a business strategies podcast for the warrior goddess entrepreneur. So Lindsay Robinson is a certified hypnotherapist and intuitive coach who loves helping ambitious women all over the world to clear the subconscious limiting beliefs keeping them stuck and step into their highest potential so they can automatically manifest their biggest goals. Welcome to the show, Lindsay.
So excited. Welcome every listener and fellow badass Molly. I'm so excited to be here with you.
Yeah, I'm excited too. So tell us a little bit about your journey to this being your path. Because I know a lot of people, for me, it was a super winding road to end up being who I am and doing what I do.
Huh?
Yeah. Yes, winding I am a nomad on the road. What's it been like for you? How did you claim this and become this?
You know, I haven't really found a nice, concise way to tell this story yet, so I'm just going to go for it. I love to start by saying I was like super weird as a kid and still am. But as a kid, it's like you don't really want to be weird until you get older and you realize that that's actually really cool to be different. But I loved hanging out in the historical cemetery by my house. I loved, wondering about things that nobody my age was thinking about. Like for me, it ended up being like, what is beyond, not necessarily heaven, but like, what are we? What are humans? What's the soul? What are we doing here? Like, what's going on? And everyone's just like, what are you talking about? Let's play Barbies. I don't know. So it manifested for me early in like this deep desire to understand the mind. Right. And so I translated that to, I want to learn all about serial killers. I want to know what's different about them that makes them, the way they are. And it was a little too dark for me. I got to say, like, I really thought I wanted to do it. I had the encyclopedia of serial killers. I studied forensic psychology, but it was just so low vibe. Like you got to be equipped, and I just realized very early that just wasn't for me. But I did still hunger to know what makes us tick and how we relate to the world and why we do the things we do. So then I was like, well, maybe I'll be a psychologist, or maybe, just kind of exploring all these things. My sister, when I was 19, I just told her that I tell people this, and she was so flattered, but it really is her and the author of this book. If you guys, do they watch this? Are they going to be able to see?
This will be on YouTube. Yeah. Michael
Good.
Newton, Destiny of Souls.
Destiny of Souls, Michael Newton, the case studies of life between lives. So he basically was a hypnotherapist who took people back to like,
I have it right here on my book.
Do you really?
Yeah.
Freaking cool.
Yeah. I'm into that
okay.
stuff.
You and me, girl. Okay. So yeah, I read this book and it did something to me, right? Like I felt the truth on the deepest level. I had a religious experience. I know I did. I was like, what is this? I love this. Anyway, I was only 19 and I kind of put it on the back burner, this whole idea of like, right after that, I moved to LA from Michigan and I kind of had to figure life out very quickly. I had to, make sure that I had enough money for rent and I was living on my own. And so I kind of had all these things to worry about. You're not thinking about what you want to do with your life, right? You're thinking about how to survive the next month. And I was not going to be one of those people that moves to LA and then moves back home because they can't do it. Like I'm doing it, right? So anyway, I was 26. I had my first son. I was engaged to be married. And I was like, now I can really think about what I want to do with my life because I don't want to go back to 50 hours a week working some weird retail job, in retail management. I don't want to do that anymore. I want to be here. This is where I want to be. So how can I make that happen? And then a light bulb went off. Oh my gosh, I read this book when I was 19, this hypnotherapist. And I really love that idea of not just what he did with hypnotherapy, but just the idea of being able to show somebody something that profound that's within them already. Like, how do I do that? And then, of course, you have the voice that's like, no, you can't do that. You have to do something safe. Do something safe, pay the bills. You have a family now, all these things. And then I asked the question of like, well, why can't I do that? Why can't I? And I've never asked that question before. I've never asked any of those questions. So I kind of just explored the possibility of what if I just made a call? What if I just Googled, and step by step, I finally got into the program that was, I know, meant for me for many reasons. Number one, it was down the street from where I would have gone back to work. And not only was it just down the street from where I was going to go back to work. And so not only was it down the street from where I was going to go back to work, but I realized after I had graduated and ended up working at the Institute, I had filled out an application in 2006, and this was in 2013, but I realized I had filled out an application in 2006, right before I moved to LA, and then just never followed up. I filled out an application for the distance program. They had my old number. They had my old address. I was like, there's no way I was going to go anywhere else. Like, this is twice. Anyway, so I got into it and it's been amazing ever since.
That's amazing. So many similarities to how I accidentally started my business because I was reading Michael Newton, I was reading Brian Weiss, and I just knew that I had to go to Brian Weiss's workshop to learn past life regression therapy because I had like a lifelong passion for it. Again, the weird kid who was thinking about, what happens after we die when everybody else wants to think about boys or whatever. And then at that workshop, I knew I needed to get a hypnotherapy certification. And that led me to accidentally starting my business as a hypnotherapist, not knowing I was going to be a business owner, just knowing I wanted to play with this stuff. So funny how similar it is. And
it is funny because when I called them just to, feel it out, I was like, can I just do past life regression? And they're like, well, you kind of have to learn the whole thing because you don't know what you don't know. And I was like, okay, fine. But I'm so glad I did because I don't just do that. And if I had only wanted to do just that little pie slice, I'd be missing out on so many things. So
yeah. And I want to highlight also that inquiry of, asking yourself questions that you never asked yourself before. And I think that as coaches, as holistic practitioners, that's one of the main things that we support our clients with is what questions have you not been asking yourself that would actually open up possibilities and open up doors subconsciously and in reality that maybe weren't there before. So tell us a little bit about, where people are at when they come to you and the kinds of things that you can unpack through both hypnotherapy and just having guidance to look at our stuck points.
Okay, so this is a great question. Usually there's a few like keywords or themes that I know are very similar with all my clients. So usually they'll say some variation of, I know what I want, or I know I'm meant for more, but there's something, right? It's always something like, there's just something holding me back and I don't know what it is. And I've tried this and I've done this and I've, gone to here and I've been doing this and it starts out really well, but they always end up right back where they started. And it's just that kind of hamster wheel feeling of just, when is it going to be something different? When can I feel the change? And a lot of times they'll blame, not necessarily blame, but they'll pinpoint the modality as the thing that doesn't work or, their mindset or whatever it is, but there's something intangible that they know is mental, not physical, right? And it's not like a circumstance. It's just something in their mind that doesn't want them to take that next step. And when I hear that, whatever variation it takes, I get like the bell ringing in my head, like, okay, here we go. Game on, let's do it. And I try to immediately put them at ease of like, you are so normal. This is so common. And it's a simple fix. It's not an easy thing to go through. It's not an easy thing to experience, but the process of discovery and the process that you get to go on now in this journey that you're about to take can be very simple and feel easier than anything you've tried before. And that I can say for a fact. You know, they tell you don't give guarantees, don't make promises. But one thing I can guarantee is it will feel easier than you probably even can imagine, because it's something you already know how to do. Everybody goes into hypnosis every day, different states, varying levels, and you're already doing it. So why not just be more intentional and actually use it to manifest, or use it to achieve your goals, or use it to feel the most potent version of yourself, right?
Yes.
Amazing. This is where I get really excited.
Oh, me too. Me too. And I sort of want to go into that too, because I also used to be a hypnotherapist. That's not what I do. I mean, I use it in my group programs so much still, but I don't call myself a hypnotherapist or sell that as my service exclusively. However, I know from having done it that there's a lot of people who have misconceptions about hypno, where they think, you know, somebody's going to put me on stage and make me cluck like a chicken and I won't remember what happened. And there's all this sort of fear about that modality in general, because it's been showcased to do tricks. And while it's capable of those tricks with their suggestible mind that they bring on stage, it's also a way to access things. So will you tell us in your words how the process kind of works, where we're going, what we're looking for, how things get hidden and then rediscovered, and what's possible with that?
How much time do we have?
We'll do the quick version.
I'll do my best. It's so funny because like I'm very aware of the way that hypnosis in general is portrayed, like on screen, usually on TV or movies and things like that. And just growing up, you know, things that you've seen. But I had it hit home pretty close the other day when my 5-year-old looks at me and he goes, "How do you hypnotize someone?" And I knew he wasn't asking me. He was just asking as a general question. And I looked at him and I go, "You know, that's what I do, right? Like, that's my job." When we hadn't really talked about the specifics of my job, they just know I work from home and I help people. And I go, "You know, I do that." And he looks at me with the biggest saucer eyes. "You do?" And I knew he was like a little afraid because of everything he's seen, like in the cartoons and stuff. So it's a great question to ask. And immediately I took that opportunity to be like, "Okay, bro, it is not what you think it is. Let me explain what it is." So I tried to do it in a way that a 5-year-old could understand. And I think I did pretty good. But basically, hypnosis is a state of heightened focus that you are able to, you know, really hone in and laser focus on a goal, an objective, a journey, a metaphor, a symbol for your mind to grab onto, to create a new neural pathway, a new known, a new thought pattern that is different than the path you've taken in the past. Usually people start to notice it's working little by little. So let's say they find themselves in a situation that they normally would have done A, they now do B, and they go, "Huh, that didn't feel weird. That felt really natural. I wonder what that's about." And that's how hypnosis really feels. It feels like this gradual, little by little transformation that you don't even really notice is happening until it happens. And you're like, "Wow, okay, I'm totally different. I'm actually more positive. I feel better. I feel more healthy. I attract healthy people into my life. I've achieved my goals," you know, those kind of things. But the way that it actually works is if you can just imagine, I'm going to do visualization a little bit.
Give us a metaphor. Yeah.
I'm going to give you a metaphor, some things.
If anyone's driving, don't go too deep.
If you could just imagine that your mind is a circle, we know it isn't, but just imagine that it is. What you're born with is the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. And that is it. Everything else that you've learned from that point on is a learned behavior. And the good news is you can also unlearn it. I'm talking fast because I know we have limited time. Hope you guys can keep up. So everything you've learned besides that, and of course the fear, the fight or flight response, which is triggered by the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling, everything else is just open. Your mind is open. That's why they say kids are sponges. From 0 to about age 8 or 9, you are just absorbing everything. You're creating these, what we call knowns in your mind. So you love chocolate, that would be a known. You don't like getting punished, that would be a known. These things that become true about you. By the time you hit 8 or 9, you get what's called the critical filter or the critical mind, which separates the conscious from the subconscious and allows you to be able to distinguish fact from fiction, to be able to make decisions, to be able to have rational thinking, logical thinking. Willpower is all created in the conscious mind. All of those things I just mentioned, decision-making, rationalization, logic, willpower, is all about 5 to 10%. of your mind. Just let that sit with you for a second. 5 to 10% is what we're using right now. Beside my hand gestures, that's subconscious. I don't have to think about how to speak. I just think of what I want to say and the words come out. That is subconscious. So both parts of your mind are working very well together, usually throughout the day. When you go into hypnosis, the subconscious kind of comes up into the driver's seat and the conscious mind takes the passenger seat. So both parts of your mind are very, very active. There's no shutting off of anything. You're still going to daydream. You're still going to think about things, but your subconscious is open and receptive to receive suggestions and to learn new things. Whereas most of the time it's closed off because of that critical filter. You got to pay the bouncer like $100 to get in there, which is kind of what we do with hypnosis. Otherwise
depending on the cost of the hypnotist. Yeah.
Yeah. Really, it's closed off and it's not open to suggestions at all. It's like, here's what we know. Here's where you're comfortable. Here's where you're safe. Anything outside that box is a no. It is dangerous. We don't know what's going to happen. You could die is how it feels.
Which is so the feeling most people have when they're thinking about doing something new or breaking outside their comfort zone. There's this little voice saying, you might die. That's the story of the subconscious mind trying to stay closed.
But you might die. Yeah. So when you feel like that hamster on the wheel, when you feel like that self-sabotage is creeping in, or the procrastination or those fear stories, that is really your subconscious trying to love you in the best way that it knows how and keep you in that little gilded cage that you created for yourself. Now, eventually you either could just settle and be like, yep, this is who I am. I guess I'm fine. Or you could decide that my knowns and my reality really can be anything I teach the subconscious that it is. Because that's what you've been doing your whole life. You've been teaching it what is comfortable, what is safe, what is normal, what is fine, what your limit is. And so its only job is to keep you there. And because that's what keeps you breathing and that's what keeps you functioning and comfortable. So if you decide that you want something more, we got to teach the subconscious. And that's exactly what we do is we take you into that nice, relaxed, focused state where it feels really good and floaty and dreamy. And we teach your subconscious, which, scientifically speaking, will create new neural pathways and create new automatic patterns of thought that will, I say, manifest your goals. It's really the same thing. Okay. We're programming your mind for what you want, or we're manifesting your goals. To me, they're exactly the same because they just work with the same parts of your body and your mind and your being. And it just feels good to say it that way. So that's how I explain it.
Totally.
Did I miss anything?
No, we're building a picture here. And I think a lot of people probably listening to this is not the first time that they're hearing about, neural pathways or the subconscious mind, but some people, maybe it is, in which case this is an amazing rabbit hole to go down. You're not listening to this podcast episode by accident. If you want to know more, of course, we're going to tell you more about how to follow Lindsay Robinson. I was just watching a live stream replay from Dr. Joe Dispenza, and I just want to add in here that there is scientific evidence now literally proving that our minds impact our reality, that our minds have an impact on our physical health, of course, on our mental health and well-being, have so much ability to impact our realities. That to pretend that what you've absorbed between 0 and 9, and some of us went through a lot of trauma in those years, pretend like that's okay. And we're just going to keep that as our operating system forever. And then keep wondering why we don't have the career we want, or wondering why we don't have the prosperity or the love relationship or the health and well-being that we truly desire, that we truly know could be possible for us. But we're okay without it because, I'm used to this box, this circle of normal that I've got. For those of us who want greater, who are aware of possibilities that are greater for us, it's okay that that's not enough. And what's beautiful is there are tools that fucking work, that help you choose what you'd like to have instead. And if we're the only thing stopping us, then it's time to have a reckoning and choose greater. And do whatever the hell it takes to find the support or find the modality or find the tool that's going to work for you, because your subconscious mind is a book that doesn't have to be finished being written yet. And you can keep writing it if you choose to.
Yeah, I think it's important that you touched on the fact that a lot of us have things from 0 to 9 that will easily explain why we are the way we are if we let it. Okay, so almost every client that comes to me, when I explain this, they go, oh yeah, that's when fill in the blank. That's when this happened. That's when I, experienced this. Oh my gosh, of course. But you don't even have to have experienced trauma. You don't even have to have experience or pinpoint a reason for these beliefs that kind of creeped in. Your parents love you to death. But one day, if they said, what do you think? I'm made of money? You got to work hard for what you got. That's going to get in. And it has nothing to do with trauma. It's just what you've learned. Like, oh, okay, money doesn't grow on trees. Oh, okay, I have to work really hard for my money. You've taught your subconscious that inadvertently. They've taught your subconscious that. There are voices in your head that aren't even yours from people that love you, but just don't know any better and just
from
mean well.
The media, from the things you've watched,
yes.
the things you've listened to, the commercials you've seen, all those stories that get put in there that create that limitation until we go, you know what? I don't choose that anymore. I choose something else to be my truth.
That's the biggest thing. When you realize every moment that you're in it is now a choice to be in it, it just changes the game. It just completely changes. You're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm in it. Yeah. And then you start to creep in those questions of like, but do I have to? But can I change my mind? Yeah, I probably could change my mind. And just asking those questions, you will get uncomfortable and you will want to. What is that saying? You will move when the idea of staying becomes so uncomfortable that you literally can't do it anymore. And that knowing you have a choice is the beginning of that, like, discomfort of like, well, it's kind of me that's keeping me here. So
being aware of this kind of conversation in your head in the first place, I think you start to become aware of the things that come out of your mouth, the things that you, that you think are true about your life or about you or about reality, that we have to start questioning. We have to start looking at, is it hard to make money? Who would I be if that wasn't true? That's Byron Katie has a really great inquiry process called The Work, but it's basically that. Is this true? Can I know absolutely that it's true? And if you have something that you think is true about reality or life, and there's even one other person on this planet that it's not true for, that means it's not absolutely true, in which case you can choose the opposite, or you can choose a different path than that to be yours also. And it's kind of the dopest life hack.
It really is.
To start becoming so aware of your story and your programming that it is uncomfortable enough that you're ready to change it, to choose something different. And the kicker is, which sucks, many people are more comfortable suffering than thriving. And that's something worth looking at. Some people are more comfortable in the toxic relationship than in a happy one because
for now, girl, because the second you start asking the question to yourself of, do I really need to have this? Is this really what I want? Because now we know it is because you are choosing this right now. You know that you can't go back to when you didn't know that, because now you know. So the more you start to think about that, it's like, ooh, but for some people it takes longer than others. I tell this story a lot because I look back and it is one of the pivotal moments in my life that I will never forget. I was, in a high school relationship with my high school boyfriend, and I was like back and forth and yo-yoing the relationship, and we break up and we make up, and it was it was high school, but I was not good and I didn't like it, but I wanted the normalcy. I liked the comfort, and I knew that's what attracted me to it, even if it was, what you would probably now today call toxic, I guess. But I had a friend who was older than me. She was more like an aunt, like an auntie, and she goes, listen, you don't have to do anything today, but one day you're going to wake up and you will just not care if he's in the room with you. You're just not going to care if he's around. You will know that is when you need to get out of there. And I was like, yeah, okay, whatever. That's never going to happen. And the more I thought of it, I was like, it's happening. It's happening.
She implanted you.
She incepted my brain, but it was so amazing. And I think everybody needs that. I'm so grateful to her for saying those words in that order to my brain, because that's exactly what I needed. So if this podcast is the right words in the right order for your brain to be able to flip that switch or pull that trigger, or even just get you thinking and get those juices flowing of like, maybe I do have a choice. Maybe I can change, where I'm at and what I do and how I feel about my reality and what I'm able to do about it. I wish everybody had that gift that I got when I was like 16. Yeah. It was such a good one. It's like one day you're going to wake up and you're going to be so uncomfortable that you're going to do something about it. And just knowing that that's around the corner sometimes is enough. And just, yeah. So I do want to mention to people before we go, I have a challenge for people. Some people may have done this. They might do it already, but maybe some people haven't. So I'm just going to talk to them. I challenge you to, for the next, I don't know, I would say week, but even just 24 hours, however long you feel like you need to, really be aware and acknowledge the kinds of things you are thinking and saying about yourself, about your life, about your circumstances. And when you notice what those things are, because that's creating your reality, when you notice what those things are, if you don't like it, or it feels icky, or it feels lower vibrationally than you'd like to be, ask yourself what you'd like to believe instead. I'll give you an example. If I wake up one day and I'm just like, super grumpy, which does happen. I don't get great sleep, right? So I wake up and I'm just like grumpy, haven't had my coffee yet. I find myself sometimes, even me, like having these little insidious thoughts like, today's going to be so hard. And that's a mild one. I know there are people out there that say way worse things about themselves. And please hold space for that. There's no judgment here. It's just be aware, be aware, be aware, be aware. And if I say that, I'm like, ooh, hang on. What do I want to believe? Do I want to believe that today's going to suck? No, of course not. Why am I saying that? What am I doing? I am so powerful, right? I create whatever I want. So what would I like to believe? I would love to believe that today is going to surprise me in just the best way. And immediately my vibe changes. I get a little happier. I get a little lighter. It feels good. And you can do this with anything. Calling yourself names. What do I want to believe instead? What would I say to my child if he said that to himself? I would love it it doesn't matter to me. You don't owe me anything, people, but I really challenge you and encourage you to pay attention to those things, because it is a game. Yeah, we double dog dare you.
But this is so useful. And hopefully most people out there know that I have a program called Peace with Money. And I'm like big proponent of altering our money mindset so that we can have more ease and more peace with that. And it's so normal to say, I can't afford it, or I'm broke, or I don't have enough money. Yep. And those are really important ones to catch and say differently. I'm not choosing to buy this right now. Or do I even really want this right now? Or, if I wanted to, I could find a way to invest in this, but I'm not choosing it. It's such a different energy than I can't, or I'm broke, or So catch all of those. Every time something comes out of your mouth that is a conclusive statement and seems to be a truth about your reality, question it. See what the flip side would be and see if that feels better energetically. I think that's amazing advice. I hope a lot of people take that challenge on. We're reaching the end of our episode, and I know that some people listening here are super turned on by this idea and may be ready to take the leap and actually get support, because it's so much easier to navigate reprogramming the subconscious mind when you have somebody who knows about it guiding you there and asking you the right questions and taking you to the places they're aware of you can go. So what's the best way for people to get a hold of you, and what are you excited about what's coming up?
So the best way to get a hold of me is either Instagram, or you can just go to my website, but my links are on Instagram. So if you have Instagram, that's probably the best way, because it has all my upcoming events and, everything that's kind of current. The thing that I would love people, well, there's two. Number one, you can go get my freebie. Just go to lindsayrobinson.com/freebie, or again, Instagram link. And then also, if you really want to dive into I do client programs. I do 12-week or 4-week, just a little bite-sized one. I have a membership, which I'm really excited about, where it has all of my hypnosis audios and trainings and courses. And if I learn a mind hack, I put it on the membership before I show anyone else. Like, they get all the exclusive stuff. And it's very affordable. It's one of my favorite things to talk about, because it's accessible to pretty much everyone. And you get a lot of great stuff for really low risk. So no risk, actually.
You can have big change just by listening to audios on repeat. There's so much that can be rewired there. That's an amazing place to start.
And I even had someone say, I'm better than a YouTube. So you heard it here first.
You heard it here first, or second, who knows?
Second.
Awesome. Cool. Well, we will put the link to that. Tell us your Instagram one more time so people can just click over there and follow you.
Yes, my name, Lindsay Robinson. You might have to put the spelling. It's like Lynnsey.
It'll be in the name of the show, but Lynnsey Robinson. Awesome. Thank you so, so much for coming on the show and sharing your magic. And do you have any just last words of wisdom you want to drop on anyone?
What I wish everybody understood, number one, is yes, you have a choice. You don't have to settle. And it can be easier than you think.
Everyone listening, thank you so much for tuning in. Definitely go follow Lindsay Robinson on Instagram. Check out lindsayrobinson.com for more. And she also has an amazing podcast that she co-hosts with her homegirl.
With Kelsey. High Vibe in It. Go check it out. Free
High Vibe in It. So podcast listeners, go find that podcast. I was a guest on that show. You might find that one. I'm not sure when it's being published, but we had fun.
Soon, or it already did. Kelsey handles all that. I just find people.
That's nice. Cool. Thank you so much again. And thank you everyone for listening. And as always, you can find more at wildheartsriseup.com, and Lindsay's link will be in the show notes of this episode. And whatever happens, keep asking big questions and taking bold action, because you are here for a reason.